If you've ever felt like stress is silently running the show, impacting your energy, your emotions, and even your physical health, you're not alone. Today's episode of The Brain Changers dives deep into the hidden cost of stress and how it manifests in the body, often in ways that we don't expect. We'll be exploring what it really means to heal from the inside out and how understanding the mind-body connection can be the missing piece in your well-being puzzle. And to help us unpack all of this, we're joined by someone who knows the body in a way that most of us don't, both through lived experience and years of hands-on healing. Welcome to The Brain Changers, a podcast about learning how to revolutionize the way you think and live by mastering your mind. We're your hosts, mother and daughter duo Rebekah and Yvonne King from Moonbeam Monday. Our goal is to empower you to live the life you choose by teaching you how to retrain your brain. Some people tell us it sounds like mind control, and it is, but not the way you might think. This is about you taking control of your own mind, rather than letting your mind control you, so you can choose to live a life free from the expectations of others. No matter what you've experienced in the past, you can create positive change and transformation by learning how to master your mind. We know this because we've done it. Between us, we've survived cancer and stroke and eliminated debilitating anxiety and depression. We've turned our pain into purpose through the power of our mind, and we're now here to support and guide you to do the same. In this podcast, we share valuable insights about how your brain works, why you think, say, and do the things you do, how to begin the process of change, and why it's necessary. Because we know that when you change your mind, you change your life. Thanks for joining us. Let's go. Today, we're joined by someone who swapped cleavers for crystals and meat trays for massage tables, Craig Collings-Wells. And with over a decade of experience as a remedial massage therapist, Craig brings a deeply intuitive and holistic approach to healing. But his journey didn't start there. Before launching Ethereal Holistic Massage, Craig spent nearly 20 years as a butcher, both on the floor, in sales, and as a storeman, giving him a grounded, real-world perspective that sets him apart in the wellness space. Craig's unique blend of skills includes remedial massage, NLP, energy work, Reiki, and craniosacral therapy, all woven together under his no pain is productive philosophy. His mission? To help people feel straighter, lighter, and more at peace, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Craig, I'm very excited to have you on the Brain Changers podcast today. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
You're welcome. So, Craig, your story is one of transformation, which I love. So, I'd really love to hear what led you to the field of remedial massage and how did you come to embrace a more holistic approach to healing?
I've had, as you said before, I've had so many different experiences from working in butchering where I actually got to actually work with muscles
Mm,
and work with the bones that work around them. I understand the way the processes work and how everything sits in the body. I did think that that was going to be my forever job. And
yeah.
it wasn't until my body actually started to say, hey, what are you doing? And it took me a while to start to understand that my body had a story to tell as well. And so listening into my muscles, I found that, oh, wow, I can't move my shoulder. My hand has gone numb. I couldn't hold a knife. And it took nearly 20 years for that to happen. But in
Wow.
that time, I had massaged myself. I had a physiotherapist and a chiropractor. The one thing they all had in common was they'd say, quit. And my theory was, do what? And I'd only ever had aromatherapy massages myself over the years, and I was really lucky that my massage therapist was a really good energy worker as well.
Mhm.
So I had that basis of when something goes wrong, you don't go for pain, you actually go for nurturing.
Mm.
And as a male, that was something that wasn't really encouraged. Like in my early years, if something didn't hurt, it wasn't a benefit to you. And I look at that as if you're already in pain, what's the point of getting more pain to walk out sorer? And so I've managed everything that I have done over the years has led me to where I am now. Even a martial art of 12 years, that it taught me that my first fight that I needed to win in martial arts was actually the fight against myself.
Mm.
The person I see in the mirror was actually the one that I needed to learn how to support and to become at one with and to listen to. And that's where my journey began, of starting to learn how remedial massage can do this, but I have to do this to make it happen. But what's outside of that box? And that's where I started learning. I did Reiki 1 and 2, do Somatic emotional release.
Mhm.
There's, I've also do some acupressure. I'm about to do more training there.
Mhm.
NLP, learning how the words that we use actually make different meanings in the body,
Yeah.
and how unraveling some of the things we say and convince our mind that we can do something different to what we say. And it's all in our own attitude. And that's something I've learned myself. And because I've got that own personal experience, each step has helped me be able to help others.
Yes. Oh, fantastic. So much in there. So many questions to ask you, Craig. And I think that with so many of us in this space, of course, we've got here because we've been on our own transformational journey, which I think is what attracts a lot of people to work with us, is that it's that been there, done that, been through it. Let me help you understand. It's quicker, it's easier when you're working with someone who has that compassion and that empathy for what you're feeling. So I love that. Even like the pain that you went through in the beginning, where you got to is like, I actually have to quit my job because my body can't handle this anymore. And what did you actually do with that? So thank you for sharing that. Um, we're talking a bit about, well, stress in the body today. And as you've just told us, stress isn't just a mental thing. Like, we hold stress in the body, even in the words that we use. Like you said, we're always talking about the power of language with neurolinguistics here. And I love that you not only use remedial massage, you use energy healing, but you've trained as an NLP practitioner as well. So you understand the impact that our words have on our, not just our mind, but our body. So many people think of stress just as mental, but as you've just explained to us, it shows up in the body. So can you explain to our listeners how stress actually gets stored physically and what signs perhaps we should look out for?
I tend, even as a basis to everything, is the word, yet again, thinking about the words we use. If before I go to sleep tonight, I thought, oh, I'm not going to have a good sleep and I'm going to wake up so sore tomorrow, your subconscious mind is going to go, oh,
Mm,
yeah, okay, we're going to have a bad night's sleep and you're going to be sore tomorrow.
yeah.
And so we're even using the words that we want to project. And if you're wanting something to happen, even I said to you about thinking about stress, and in the last few days, it's like everything around me, as I'm focusing on stress, it caused a little bit of chaos.
Mm,
And I understood that this, not just the fact that I know I'm thinking about stress, I'm bringing it into my world. And so I had to actually reason with my own mind that, okay, this is for a purpose. It's not part of my life. And
yeah.
it's even with our muscles, when we start to actually pick up that we're dealing with stress, especially if you're sitting in front of a keyboard all day, you tend to find one of the signs is you'll find people's shoulders lift up.
Mm,
And
yes.
this here, just behind our neck, is almost like a receptor. It's like a beacon for stress, and it actually picks up and the muscles pull inwards. So to pull inwards, we must actually lift up. And I always say to people, it's like focus on lifting your head up and pushing your hands down. And it actually physically stretches everything in opposite directions. Also, just being able to think about the way that is tightening up at the top of your body, it also pulls your hips as well. So you've got a muscle that's pulling upwards, so it's got to come from somewhere. So
Mm,
then you actually find then your hips are going to twist. And
mhm,
so even emotionally, thinking about what our stomach and all of our abdomen does, and not only for males, but especially for females with all the reproductive system through in the
mhm,
center. So now you've actually got that at the front of the body. So it's now going to work at the back of the body where the muscles are pulling. So now your pelvis is going to twist to try and protect. and then that starts going down into your legs, and your feet are what ground the body. And so if your actual feet don't have a pure state of energy running from top to toe, your grounding isn't successful. So grounding not only works going downwards, but it also comes back up. If you
Mm.
can think of any dark energy coming through your body, and I often think of it like a pinball, a spherical ball above your head that's glowing white. And
Hmm.
as it comes down in your body, you allow it to go all the way down through your chakras. And when it gets to your feet, you'll find that ball is actually going to be really dark because it's like a magnet taking all of the darkness out of your body. And as it gets to your feet, you close your eyes, take a deep breath in, and use like your breath, your chi or your power to blow that into the ground, into the center of the earth. And Mother Nature takes it into the fire, into the volcano like lava in the center of the earth. And as it comes back, this dark ball is now bright, white, hot energy.
Yeah.
As it comes back into your body, it replaces anything that was darkness now with light. So as that fills up your body, you actually find we take on stuff from other people and they feel great because they've dumped it on us. But then that's extra in your body. So you can actually now replace any of that stuff with nice white light energy. And as it goes out through your head or out through your hands, you can actually let go of that. And so if you're in a crowd, I love doing it in a crowd. You let go of this extra energy. People around you smile and they feel really great, but have no idea why.
Yeah.
I do. And so you're actually letting stuff go out of your body. But if your body is twisted and your body is, it's got blockages, or even if your chakras aren't running freely, you'll find there's blockages where your energy can't flow. So you may get to a certain point and it'll stop. And then all of a sudden you'll find your body then reacts to that as well. And because there's a disturbance that could then show up as a pain, show up as stress.
Hmm.
And it's allowing yourself to take a deep breath in and see everything clearing to push through to be able to ground and connect with source again. All comes back to energy.
Wow. Now I understand why we say, from the ground up, because
Yep.
really that's where so much of it comes from, isn't it? That's there. Oh, I got so much out of what you just said, Craig. Full
Thank you.
transparency. I go to Craig, like he is my remedial massage therapist. We do some energy work. I absolutely love coming to see you, and I've got an appointment soon, and I'm really looking forward to that. But even as you were just talking, because you were talking about the shoulders, I hold a lot of stress in my shoulders. I am a keyboard warrior, in the nicest possible way. I do a lot of my work on the keyboard at the
Yep.
computer. I'm also a cyclist, and I went for a ride on Sunday. And ever since, my shoulders have been so sore and tight, and in the back of my neck and back. And just as you were talking, I don't know, those of you who are watching the video, you might have seen I sort of put my hands down beside me. I'm sitting up straighter, I'm pulling my shoulders back, and I'm sort of pulling toward the ground. And then as you were explaining how that energy works, that beautiful white light, and I was visualizing that white light coming through my body, collecting at the ground. And then you talked about being in a crowd and how you project that beautiful white light. And instantly, I felt different because energy works through the computer, right? Some people
Yes.
perhaps don't
It's
understand how that
everywhere.
works, and that might be a conversation for another time. But it's incredible how just in those probably couple of minutes that you were talking, my shoulders feel more relaxed. I
Yeah, you
even
do
have
too.
less pain, and I feel straighter and I feel lighter. Isn't that
I can
incredible?
understand.
Yeah, so we've got real-time transformation happening here, people. Like if you like rewind and listen to that again and actually go through the motions of what Craig is talking about, you will feel a difference.
I actually do that on the table with people.
Yeah.
I physically do it in my head as I'm working through a client, and it
Mm,
gives them the ability to feel what I'm doing. And then sometimes, if I'm struggling with doing it in my head and verbalizing, I actually verbalize what I'm doing in my head. And
yeah.
because it's being able to, like, even with Reiki, it's being able to connect with a person
Mm,
and you put your hands on and you actually become one with their energy. So
mm,
being able to mold, I'm not sure whether mold is the right word, or use their energy as well to
mm,
get to a process of what you're wanting to achieve.
mm,
Everybody feels it differently, so there's not one answer to that
mm,
question. Um, I generally do show people as well how to hold energy, and 9 times out of 10, people can.
Yep.
And it's we all have energy and we're all made of energy. Everything
Yes.
is energy. And I've had some amazing instructors and lecturers over the years, and they've given me the knowledge that I have. And a lot of it is remembering we don't need a lot of tools to actually get in the way of doing what comes naturally. And I
Yeah.
believe that is where some of what I do, I'm getting back to where I was by learning new things
Mhm.
to able to give people the opportunity to become who they are.
Very powerful indeed. I think, one thing that I mean, I've probably been told it before, but one thing that's really resonated with the work that we've done together, I'll come in and say, oh gosh, my shoulders, Craig, really sore here. You don't start at my shoulders. And like you were just describing before, often it starts elsewhere. You'll start at my feet. You'll work your way up and you explain how, it's that old song, the ankle bone's connected to the whatever it is. I don't
Yeah.
even know. But everybody knows we're all connected, right? And so I may have an issue in my feet or my calves or my knee or something like that, which is creating this pulling tension or this pain in another part of my body. And I think that's often what is different in what you offer is if I come to you with a pain in my back, you're not necessarily working on my back because we store
Just that
these,
area.
yeah, these issues, these, tension, pulling, emotions, even in different parts of our body.
I
And
was
that's,
thinking that I can actually,
yeah.
I've had a client come in, and I don't think he appreciated being called on what his theory was. He was so stuck on one theory, and I know every client is not my client, and that is
Hmm.
okay because I can't help everyone.
Hmm.
But this gentleman came in, and it was neck and shoulders, and it was
Hmm.
years of being out in the workforce, being a salesperson. Then it was emotional with family and work, and then retirement, and knowing where he sat in the world.
Hmm.
And a lot of it was sitting here. And he did come in and say, "My neck and shoulders have always been tight." And I
Hmm.
actually said to him, "Always?"
Hmm.
And just the thought of he had really fixed in his mind that this is my problem for life.
Yeah.
And so I started working at his feet, and he goes, and I did his feet, his knees, and his hips. And he goes, "Why are you starting at bottom half of my body? My neck's sore." And
Mm.
I went through and I said to him, "If you tread on a piece of Lego with your right foot, it hurts." And he goes, "Yes." And I said, "So now you're not putting pressure on your right foot. You'll lift it up. So that means more pressure is on the other foot. So your hips are going to lift on the one that is sore,
Mhm.
which then makes your pelvis twist, which then makes each one of your vertebrae need to actually shift to keep your head straight." And something I do with my clients, especially when they're first in, I hold their neck, and if they're not allowing me to drop their head back, I get them to visualize a bowling ball, and
Yes,
I
I
get them to
remember
tell
that.
me the color of it and the size of the ball. And generally, I find the amount of tightness is represented by the number of the ball. And normally it's somewhere between 5 and 12. But I
Hmm.
had a guy that came in and he actually was repairing dented cars with the hail dents, and his was black. It was
Mm.
really faded, but it was a size 54 ball, and his neck was so messed up and solid.
Yeah.
And I got him to actually loosen up, and he walked out of there without the emotional
Yeah.
side of hanging on to it. And sometimes people come in and they say, "Oh, this is just the way I am." And I said, "No, we don't talk like that in here.
Yeah.
Stop it." And it's like, "Oh, I smell coffee. Someone's brewing coffee out the back." And sometimes it's breaking someone's thought pattern to
Yeah.
understand that this isn't your life. This is a choice you're actually making. And sometimes there's external factors that get involved, but we still make a choice. I know in my butchering career, there was butchers that, well, some of the people weren't very nice, and they could actually get really nasty.
Mm.
But I chose to stay there. I could have left.
Yeah.
And it worked for me at the time. And although it made me feel very insecure, it made me feel like my worth wasn't there, I
Mm.
still chose to stay.
Mm.
And so sometimes we need to actually change our state and change even where we are.
Hmm.
And if that sometimes means getting up and shifting and even changing people around us and being positive people, because if you, as we know through NLP, if we have positive people around us, we will actually elevate to that group. Whereas if you're in a negative group, you'll find you'll sink to them. And so it's always about the people around you and the people that you aspire to be, and thinking of, I want to do this. So if it's good or bad, you will achieve it.
That's
It may
right.
take a little bit longer sometimes, but it's always focusing on that good. Otherwise, you will be, and that's, I try to encourage people to think on the positive line.
Yeah, and I think that's I guess what sets you apart in what you do, Craig, because you're not just a remedial massage therapist. You know, you're trained as an NLP practitioner, master practitioner, hypnotherapy, your energy healing as well. And so you using several modalities across here, so you're able to see, I guess, the bigger global picture. You know, the Robert Dilts 6 neurological levels, like you said, sometimes it is about changing your environment. Sometimes it's about changing your behavior, your skills, and then getting to those levels that most people don't know, either don't know about, don't understand how they impact the values, the beliefs, identity, purpose. And I can hear a lot of that in what you're talking about. And I think that's what makes your treatment different, perhaps more impactful. So, like with this, again, we're often talking about stress with this the mind body connection because, of course, they are inextricably linked. But
Absolutely.
chronic stress that we hold, whether it be in our shoulders, whether it's the emotions we hold in our body, can often lead to physical ailments. So, like you were explaining, one client, it was in his shoulders. Sometimes we're talking about autoimmune disease, even, or illnesses
Yes.
like that. So, what are some of the most common physical issues that you see in your clients that you can pinpoint are directly linked to stress?
Oh, this is opening up just like Pandora's box.
Give me top
Um,
three.
okay.
Otherwise, we'll be
I'm
here
going
all
to say
day.
the chest. I'm going to say the chest is a huge one,
Hmm.
because as soon as well, lungs, breath, throat, breathing is one of the most important thing that affects the whole body. When
Yeah.
you become very shallow breath, you actually find it tightens your rib cage up. And
Mm.
even your ribs, they go from, they've got muscles in between the ribs. And as they tighten, your rib cage actually shrinks. So
Mm.
instead of your rib cage being this long, it actually shrinks. And so as it shrinks, it doesn't open up. Because
Mhm.
it's rigid, your lungs actually hit that rigid rib and stops and then goes down again. So instead of taking that big breath, it only gets a part of that big breath.
Mm.
So by opening up a rib cage, you can actually stretch apart and get the rib cage to loosen, which allows you to take that first big breath that you may not have taken in weeks.
Wow.
And I actually do one side of the rib. And then I actually say to people, now take a deep breath in, and you can physically feel one side of the rib, one lung has more air than the other.
Wow.
And so without that, you're actually taking in. So I often say about breathing in through your nose and breathing out through your mouth, and that same count. So what I find is when I did my martial art, that this was something that was taught to us, and it was about controlling our chi.
Mhm.
So by actually being able to control our breath, it controls the focus of what we are doing. So by enlarging our chest, we actually are taking in more oxygen and carbon dioxide. But you'll find when you breathe out, you're actually breathing more air out through your mouth than you're breathing in through your nose. So by rule of thumb, you're breathing out more carbon dioxide than you're breathing in. So it gives you
Mm.
almost like a euphoric effect. And
Mm.
starting at about a 5 count and working your way up. I remember when I was training, I think I got up to something like 36. So it was very slow intake of breath. I don't think I could do 12 now, but it's being able to practice
Yes.
allowing everything to slow down. And when you're in a state of stress and heightened stress, you're actually in fight and flight response.
Mm.
So your body is waiting for something to happen. And when you lock up, something will happen.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
take away that fear, and everything's calm. And then everything seems different. And like even with thinking about you got too many things going on, too much going through your mind, especially at 2 in the morning when you wake up, write down on a pen and paper everything that you've actually just had run through your head, and think to yourself, can I do anything about these now?
Mm-hmm.
And if the answer is no, allow yourself to think, well, I've got them written down.
Mm-hmm.
Come back to me when I can do something about it. But
Mm.
now I need to sleep. And tell your mind what you, even if you do it internally, you don't have to say it aloud because your subconscious hears things that we say in our head. So even when we're joking, it still takes it seriously.
It does, doesn't it? The brain will believe what you consistently tell it, right? And so that's why we talk about be very mindful about not only your spoken words, but your internal words as well. Yeah. So actually, I was having a conversation with someone recently, and they were talking about having trouble sleeping. And, this is actually, I've had this conversation with multiple people recently, but they're busy people. And for those watching the video, you can see I'm using air quotes because, I don't really believe in the word busy. I think it's a BS word. But they have very busy jobs, lives. They've got, I guess would class themselves as overthinkers. Got lots running through their minds. And so they might not find it difficult to fall asleep because they're physically and mentally exhausted, but then they're bing waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And sometimes it's just thinking about things that are going on in life. Sometimes it's an issue that, something has happened and so they're worried about it. It's creating stress. So, you've talked about breathing, you've talked about writing these things down. I'm 100% there with you. Have you got any tips, perhaps, for people that are waking up at 3 in the morning who are struggling to get back to sleep, either to help them get back to sleep at that particular moment, or perhaps something else that they can be considering in their life that's having this impact on them?
Absolutely. Generally, we won't know what that is.
Mm.
As ourselves, these things are going on in the background, and this could be something that we learned to do, and it's given us a limiting decision from when we were 3 or 4. And as you know, it's we do all of our setting in of our programs and all of our settings between 0 and 7. And then we
Yeah.
spend the rest of our life trying to commit them to memory and live them the best we can.
Mm.
So there could be something that the rubbish bin truck could have used to. They could have driven by at 3 in the morning, every week, and it's like that has woken you up. Even though the rubbish truck doesn't drive past anymore, it's still something that's set in our psyche.
Mm.
So even being able to actually change the state in our mind, whether it be meditation, I find the word meditation gets thrown around a lot.
It does.
I find it's listening to music while you're breathing,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to find the right music for you. It's not the same
Mm-hmm.
with everybody. I do. I'm trying to think what it's called now. I think it's iTunes Timer.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a singing bowl on the actual app, and I tend to find I use that a lot at nighttime. And I even find light keeps me awake. Like even if during the night, if the street light's coming through our window at 2 in the morning, I
Mm-hmm.
won't be able to get back to sleep until everything's dark.
Mm-hmm.
So we even have a blindfold with a Bluetooth speaker in it, so we can listen to. If I wake up, I'll put that on and put another, 5 minute 5 minute meditation on,
Mm-hmm.
and that will help calm me again. Or I get up, go to the toilet, or I'll get myself a glass of water, or even, if something like a nice warm glass of milk helps,
Mm-hmm.
or even just getting out and doing some stretching. If you found that your body is tightened up, I'm one that gets cramps if I've gone and exercised or I haven't stretched properly and I haven't done enough stretching after exercise, my
Mm-hmm.
body cramps up in the legs.
I
When I
do.
did the martial art, that was generally my calves and my hamstrings, so I couldn't straighten my leg and I couldn't bend it.
Mm.
But usually finding out what it is that triggers you can before you go to sleep
Mm-hmm.
can help you during the night of focusing on what could happen, but it's focusing on the good. And
Yeah.
it's I am going to sleep all night long, and I'm going to wake up in the morning ready for my shower.
Yeah.
I'm not going to think before I go to bed, oh, I hope I don't cramp,
Yeah.
because you can guarantee you're going to
You'll
cramp.
be cramping. So it's essentially what you're saying is we need to break the pattern. So, for
Yes.
somebody who's consistently been waking up at 3 in the morning, and it could be, like you suggested, it could be something that's happened a long time ago. We've created that pattern. It could be something that's going on in your life at this particular moment. But if we're continuously waking up at a particular time in the morning, we then create this pattern. And so it's almost like we wake up at 3 o'clock every morning and we start overthinking, oh my goodness, this has happened at work and I've got to do this tomorrow. And, got to write my to-do list and all of that. And so if we do this for a number of nights in a row, we now have this new pattern that we've installed. It's like a habit, that our mind, our unconscious mind goes, right, 3 o'clock, time to wake up. So we need to find a way to break that pattern. And any of those things that you mentioned certainly help. And so it's about retraining our brain, creating a new pattern so that no longer it's, I wake up at 3 o'clock and I start overthinking about work or life or whatever it is, but instead I do this. Yeah. So lots of
Working
different
out what
things.
you're getting out of it. Yeah, what am I
Yes.
benefiting from waking up at 3 in the morning?
Mm,
But at the same stage, what is the downside of that? What could I be benefiting from? It's not always focusing on the fact that I'm awake. It's like, well,
mm.
what is the benefits of me being awake at that? What can I achieve to get me go back to sleep? And then you've got a positive outcome to something that you're sitting there staring at the ceiling, not wanting to move. You don't want to wake the household up, or you don't want to stir the dogs up because that's going to make them bark and then the house will be awake. And so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
allowing yourself to see the positives of what you can do right now. And yet again, it's allowing your mind to know that there's only so much I can do right now. At 3 in the morning, I'm not getting up and going for a run. I'm not going to go out. I'm not going to go to the gym because I know some people do, but
Hmm.
that's not me.
Yeah.
And so
I,
it's within your own values level as well.
yes, exactly. Okay. So I want to just talk a little bit about, this no pain, no gain philosophy that you have. And this is the first, when I went to see you, I remember we had this conversation. I don't remember exactly how it went, but I remember you saying to me, if I'm hurting you, then I'm not doing my job properly because you're already in pain. When we go to see, um, massage therapist or practitioners, whatever you want to call them. And they get in deep and it's like, oh, the more I hurt you, the more release you're going to get. But then you explained to me that, hang on, if I'm hurting you, your body, I think you mentioned this earlier, is sort of tightening up and it's going, I'm in more pain. That can't really be great for us. So can you explain a little bit more about this no pain is
Absolutely.
productive? Because I think it's going to dispel a few myths for people who like to go to practitioners that kind of hurt
You
them.
think about it out on the footy field, you get or the soccer, they get the trainers out there, they'll dig in deep to get
Mm,
the muscle to release so they can get back out on the field. Now
yep.
it's done very deep and very quick so they can get back out, but they're really warm. Their muscles are used to it. They're athletes. But you
Okay.
don't see what then happens afterwards, the rehab they're going to do afterwards. They'll
Yeah.
get in an ice bath to get the inflammation down. They'll go have more massage to get the muscles that are really solid now to release. Whereas I look at it, everything is connected. So yet again, if you're thinking of your neck and shoulders are sore, as soon as they get tight, they've got to pull somewhere else. So yet again, then your hips are tight. It goes down into your glutes, down through your legs. All of a sudden, your Achilles are tight.
Hmm.
So if I dig in, it's only going to accentuate the fact the body's tight and it'll make it tighter. So in the way I was actually taught was to find a tight spot and either dig my knuckles or my elbow into that tight spot and dig into it until it releases. Now,
Mm.
I actually offered my lecturer to get on the table while he was teaching me that, and I would work on him. And he actually did say to me, "No, I've learnt my time at that. You've got to experience it." And I did say at that point, I will only use this if I have somebody that comes in really solid. And I reckon I've only ever used it on two people
Right.
because they were huge, they were muscle bound, and it was the only way to break through the tissue. But in general sense, I find if the muscle is here like this, the pain is here. I would rather go to the ends where the muscle attach,
Hmm.
move the muscle that's been so tight for so long, move it. So I'm actually changing the state of the muscle by making it move. You're giving it the opportunity to relax and release.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not tight now. I've changed it into something that moves. And to be able to move, it's got to be more relaxed. So that allows all of the muscle fibers that are locked to actually come back straight again. And so that's a lot of the way I sort of think. And even I'll get people to talk, especially when they're face up, because I believe the front of the body is where all our energy goes. So I release the front of the body. So when they turn over, there's actually nothing pulling forward. Whereas the front is so tight that if I do the back first, when people turn over, the front actually pulls the back out again, and I don't find that productive. But
Mm.
it's we all treat differently, and every practitioner has a different way of doing things. And as I said before, I can't help everybody, but generally people that find me, I can help. And
Yeah.
it's allowing people to understand they deserve more. They deserve to be better. They don't, what they've got going on isn't what they deserve.
Yeah.
They deserve to be normal, whatever that normal is.
Yeah, again, air quotes using that word, right? I know that again, that was something that I found very different to any other practitioner or therapist that I'd worked with before, Craig, is that you were like, right, on the table, but face up. I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And
Yep.
I love that you explained that because it is different to anyone I've ever worked with. And, I think it's a good place for me to back up what you're saying there in terms of I'm a big believer in finding what works for you. You've got to make sure that you've got a connection with the person, you feel comfortable with them, what they do works for you. So we're not here saying that what other people do is the wrong way to do it. It's simply this is your way to do it. And if it works for the people that you attract to your business, then fantastic. And I know for me, since I think I've been seeing you over the last year and a half, something like that, and it's the first time that I've had a longer result. It's had a greater impact. It don't seem to be going as often, and it, it's simply just a more I want to say a more pleasurable experience, and I mean that insofar as it doesn't hurt.
Yep.
I'm not sitting there wincing, going, "Oh my goodness, I've got to go and get this, and it's going to really
It's
hurt." It's an
more
enjoyable,
connected with it.
relaxing experience, and I walk out feeling good. The next day I feel even better because you're doing that energy work at the same time. So yeah, it's a more enjoyable experience, at least I find. So you talked about breathing a little bit
Yep.
before and how that actually, we can expand, uh, change
Ribcage.
our ribs, expand all of that type of thing. So how does breath work influence stress release? And, are there some tell us again about perhaps some simple breathing exercises that people can do to calm their nervous system.
I haven't trained in breath work, but I have actually been involved, and I was so lucky. My Reiki teacher, Michael Barton and David Reed, they've done training to teach breath work, and I must
Yeah.
admit I had a huge experience with that.
Mm,
But at the same stage, just being able to actually breathe, being unguided, is just amazing because you're allowing yourself to open right up,
yeah,
and it allows I keep seeing in my mind and like an orange getting blown or even a balloon getting blown up. And
yeah,
if it's restricted, like even the balloon, if it's restricted, it'll only allow it to move so far. But you break your restrictions, which can even be our own limiting decision. We're molding ourselves to be shallow breathers.
yeah,
And so that's also affecting the way our blood pumps around our body.
yeah,
So being able to actually break that cycle, we're actually changing the way all of our everything works, really. It's
yeah.
not only the way, because when we take deep breaths, we feel calmer and more
Yeah.
relaxed. You take really shallow breaths and you feel like you've got to speed through. And
Mm,
generally that's where stress is incorporated. You find everything is like being in a vice. So
hmm
it's allowing yourself to get out of the vice and go up in the air and be like the helium balloon floating
mm.
and take yourself out. And I often say about being like visualizing yourself doing something, like even with our shoulders, being able to lift them off our body. And on my website, I do have stretching for that.
Oh, cool.
And it's visualizing yourself at the moment, you're like even an emu or a turkey, they don't lift their wings up properly, so they can't fly. Whereas you think of an eagle, they have
Mhm.
their wings outstretched and they're floating around in the clouds. They don't even look like they're flying. And if
No.
you can emulate that by floating around and visualizing yourself behind them or becoming the eagle, you actually calm your nervous system. But at the same stage, because you're doing that with your shoulders as well, you're lifting your wings up, you're actually releasing the muscles trapped underneath. As soon as it lifts up, muscles release. So
Wow.
it's allowing everything to work together instead of putting blockers or boundaries in place that hold you there. You're looking at putting boundaries in place to hold everything else out there that you can work with later.
Okay, so that's perhaps a good place to ask you for someone who is feeling overwhelmed or stuck in that stress cycle, what are some of the first steps they can take today to start reconnecting with their body and finding some balance, some relief?
I think actually one of the things I always say to people is look in the mirror and
Hmm.
see that person you see. Now, that person is not you. That was you a nanosecond ago, but they know everything about you, that person. And you might work at home and you don't see anybody, but every time you look in that mirror, that same person looks back at you. So what if you smile at them, give them a wink? I'm guaranteeing they're going to do it back.
Yeah.
But at the same stage, when you talk to them, whether you do it louder in your mind, their main goal in life is to look after you. And so being able to open yourself up to someone, whether it be myself, yourself back, or even you're looking in the mirror and talking to yourself, you're giving that opportunity to air things. And it's like it, yet again, it's the chest, it gets it off your chest.
Mm.
And sometimes we can fathom things or work through things better when they're said aloud.
Hmm.
Because when they go through your mind, you've got different wavelengths or different patterns that are filters that our voice goes through or our
Hmm.
memory goes through. And so all of a sudden, talking out loud, your ears can hear it. So
Mm.
it's not going through the same filter. So then maybe write a list of the things that are actually causing you to feel tight.
Mm.
Careful on the words we're using,
Hmm.
but thinking about tightness, thinking about the tightness is stopping me opening my breath and opening my lungs up. So, what is it that's making me tight? And
Mm.
then, even if then you look at a new page and think, what can I do today to slow down the world around me so I can take a deep breath in
Hmm.
and allow me to take that deep breath? And what can I do? I can sit in a quiet room and I can count to myself. So I can count my breathing. I can listen to some music. And different people find the American Indian music I listen to, some people find it really irritating.
Hmm.
And I have some people that bring me in anything from the 10 tenors up to Guns N' Roses. And it's like everything in between, but
Hmm.
that's relaxing for them.
Mm.
And it's finding what works for you. The same won't work for everybody. So
Mm.
it's taking faith in yourself that you know what is good for you
Hmm.
and use a little bit of that to also choose your practitioner
Mm.
because you'll get a gut feeling. And that's why the stomach is so important to me
Mm.
because, like, our gut is everything. And I believe it's more of the first brain. So that's where we actually have so much going on. Put your hands either side, even if you put them in like a triangle on
Hmm.
top of your stomach, and just allow yourself to sit quietly and just feel what you get coming out from in your hands. And a lot of the
Mm.
times you'll find warmth and tingling, and
Okay.
that's working on yourself.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, there's a few tips in there for people and we'll summarize those for you in the show notes, but there's a couple of things, but it's really coming back to who you are, looking yourself in the mirror, those spoken words, whether like you say, whether they're in your head or whether they're spoken out loud, they have a massive impact on us. But the message that keeps coming through, and like I said, I've had a lot of these conversations very recently, is about slowing down. I know that that's probably going to make some people feel even more stressed, like I don't have the time to slow down, but I would ask the question, what's it costing you not to do that? And for those who think I don't have time to slow down, you're the ones that need it the most. So really reconnecting with that body. And we're going to be talking about our gut brain. That might be new information to some people, the fact that we have three brains, our gut, our heart, and our head brain, of course. We're going to be talking about that in a future podcast. So that really excites me that you just started mentioning that. Okay, we're going to start wrapping up here, Craig. I want to know, what is your top tip for someone who knows or now realizes that their body is telling them something? I think it's really easy for us to think, oh, I've just got a sore back, or, like your client said to you, this is just me.
just the way it is.
Or I've always had a sore knee, or my hips are always sore, whatever it is. So what's your top tip for someone who knows or now realizes that their body is telling them something, perhaps they're in a chronic state of stress?
Oh, that is a hard one because it's so different for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I've got so many things running through my head. But it's being able to actually look at them and keep asking the question. So yet again, even if you're looking in a mirror, and I was like, what does that mean to you?
Mm-hmm.
How does that affect you? What
Mm-hmm.
are you getting out of this? And being able to keep going around to actually see, and sometimes that can be really confronting,
Mm-hmm.
but it gives people the opportunity to work out why they're doing something in a way that maybe they won't come across normally.
Mm. Okay, so asking questions, asking ourselves some of those questions that we might not usually ask ourselves. Yeah, what is
Language it is.
actually at the root of this? Is it just a sore knee because I tripped over and I banged my knee on the floor? Or if this is is this connected to something else in my life that might be creating some stress right now? Yeah, okay. Craig, it's been incredible speaking to you. I know that you and I could probably talk for days on this topic and go off on a lot of different tangents, but we're going to pop your details in the show notes. Craig Collings-Wells at Ethereal Holistic Massage here in Adelaide, for those listening in Adelaide. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom today with us on the mind-body connection and some of those tips about what we can do to start releasing some of that stress. Thank you everyone for listening to the Brain Changes podcast. And remember, when you change your mind, you change your life. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Brain Changes. We hope you've enjoyed the conversation today. Please like and subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest episodes. Our mission is to reach as many people as possible to help them revolutionize the way they think so they can change their brain and create profound transformation. Please help us broaden our reach by sharing this episode with someone you know will benefit. And remember to tag us on socials at Moonbeam Monday and leave a review. And remember, when you change your mind, you change your life. We'll catch you next time for another episode of The Brain Changes.